So if you're like me, you're kind of in the market for an Apple Pencil, but you looked at that price of an Apple Pencil and it was just way more than you're willing to spend. In Canada, that Apple Pencil costs $129 before taxes, and after taxes, it's still a lot. I was looking for an alternative because I had lost my Apple Pencil and I didn't want to fork out that much money, and I found this. This is called the MPIO Stylus. I bought it on Amazon. It was only $40, and I was actually pleasantly surprised about how good this thing is. So I'll just get into some of the features and what I like about the pencil, what I don't like about the pencil. But before I do, if I could kindly ask you guys to like and subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, it'll really help my channel grow, and I really appreciate it. So let's talk about some of the features of this guy. Now, just by looking at it, it looks like an Apple Pencil. It's actually made out of the exact same materials as the original Apple Pencil, so that's a big bonus. It looks really good in the hand when you're holding it. It feels good as well. So when you're writing, it doesn't feel too strange to be writing with this pencil, which is a big bonus. I really enjoy the design. I mean, if it didn't have this, you'll think that it was an Apple Pencil. Moving on to some of the features, it also features palm rejection. So what that means is, let's say you're writing, taking notes in your class, and your left wrist is on the iPad screen. It'll ignore your touches that you're inputting with your left hand and only focus on what you're inputting with the pencil. So that's a good benefit. I'm used to resting my hand when I'm using an Apple Pencil. This is a great feature to see on a $40 stylus. Another feature that I want to touch on is how to turn it on. So if you can see, there's a blue light there. That means that this is actually on and ready to use. So how do you turn it off? It doesn't use Bluetooth or anything like that. You just tap it and it turns off. And again, you tap it and it turns right back on. You can see the blue light is on and it's ready to connect. You don't need to go through settings or anything like that. Fairly easy to use. Now, while we're up there, you can see this black slot here is a USB-C charging port, which is amazing because first of all, my MacBook uses USB-C, my camera uses USB-C. So it's good that they went with USB-C instead of Lightning. It's a lot better than Apple's ugly and disgusting charging mechanism. So I really appreciate that they have USB-C on this. Do I like this black spot on it? Not really, from a design standpoint, but other than that, it's pretty good. It also has auto off, so it will turn off in 5 minutes if you haven't tapped it to the screen, which is good. Again, it saves you more battery life. And speaking of battery life, this thing has a 20-hour battery life if you charge it for 1.5 hours with the USB-C port, which is pretty solid. This thing will last you all day if you're a student or if you're taking notes. Just rest assured that if you charge it for 1.5 hours, you got the whole day ahead of you. So that's a good benefit. So what devices does this thing actually work with? It works with every single iPad except for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, and the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. And it also does not work with iPhones, which is fine. I don't know if you need to use a stylus on your phone. Shout out to Samsung Galaxy Note. While I do like the features and it's actually really handy to use, let's talk about a few things that I dislike about this Apple Pencil. I'll be honest, it's just a few minor things. So as I mentioned, the USB-C port here, I kind of don't like the way it looks just because it ruins the design aesthetic of the Apple Pencil alternative. If this was actually just pure white, this would be such a beautiful device. I feel like they could charge a lot more if they had it pure white, but because of this here, it looks different. Regardless, that's just a minor nitpicking thing. It still looks great. It works absolutely well. Now moving on to my other cons. So it has no pressure sensitivity. That's right, no pressure sensitivity. So if you're an artist that likes to draw, you might want to stay clear of this just because when you're pressing on the display, it doesn't differentiate between harder pressures, making whatever you're drawing more intense. It just kind of stays the same level. You could get around that just by scribbling a bit harder. But for artists that use the iPad Pros or any of the iPads to draw, you might want to avoid this and go with the original Apple Pencil. So I just want to quickly show you guys how I use it for some of the things that I do with this Apple Pencil alternative. So a really neat feature of iOS 14, you can use a feature called Scribble, which allows you to use the Apple Pencil or alternative to scribble in a text field and it'll convert your scribble into text. I've been using this alternative Apple Pencil to do that. So let's go in here and I'm just going to search Google. I kind of messed it up already, so I could just circle it and it'll take it out. But let's just hit the X a couple times, go to Google, and I could hit search at the bottom, and then it's doing a search for Google. It's pretty precise using it for input, and I enjoy browsing with this, similar to how I would with the original Apple Pencil. Another thing that you can use this alternative for, of course, is taking notes. So I'm just going to open up a new note, and I'm just going to select this and just scribble. And you can use it to just straight up scribble on the screen or take your notes. So let's say I'm going to talk about the iPad Air, then I'll use this as well. Another thing that you can use it for, of course, and it works really well with, is basic drawing. So I didn't draw this with this, I actually drew this with the Apple Pencil. I just want to demonstrate with you what I was talking about earlier as the con, is that if you press a bit harder, it doesn't make a difference. With the Apple Pencil, that's something that you can get. I drew this picture of Deadpool, but I want it to be deep and rich. You can't really do that just by pressing a bit harder. You just have to keep scribbling in, and then you get it. Now, Deadpool's eyes are pure white, of course, but it's just an example. But yeah, in my honest opinion, it works quite well just for basic things that you use the Apple Pencil for, unless you're an artist. That pretty much sums it up, guys. When you're looking for an alternative Apple Pencil, one of the things you have to decide is if the original Apple Pencil, the price of that is worth it. If that the difference in value that you get with the original Apple Pencil is worth the difference in cost. And with this one, I'd say it's not really worth it, at least for myself. Who's this for? I think this Apple Pencil alternative is for photographers, people that take notes only, so like students, and other people that use the stylus for more of a stylus. I use it for editing thumbnails in my photos and getting really precise in photos, but certainly it's not for those that are, you know, artists that will use the iPad to draw things. Because it doesn't have that pressure sensitivity, this might not be something that you would want. You'd probably need to go with the original Apple Pencil. But that was it, guys. I hope I went through everything. This is a good Apple Pencil alternative, and I'd highly recommend it. I put a link for it in the description below, so you can really check it out for yourself and decide if you'd like to go with this. Before I go, again, if I can kindly ask you guys to like and subscribe on the video, I'd really appreciate it. And that was it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.